All right, thank you, Jerry. There it's 5:30. We are ready to begin.
All right. Take roll call.
Certainly. Michael Albetta,
Here.
Daniel McCauley,
Here.
Mary Peloquin. Here. Richard Weiss. And Chair Stern.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Again, do you want to introduce yourself as the only one really?
Sure, absolutely. I'm honored to be on the board. I'm a local kid, grew up here, went to elementary school here, middle school here, Fort Lauderdale High graduate. I have 4 beautiful kids. I raised them here. Been on a variety of civic charitable boards. I think I'm most proud that I've now on my 34th youth sports team I'm coaching right now, 10-year-old soccer. I'm a attorney with Greenberg Traurig. I've been there 25 years. I'm a partner in commercial real estate practice nationally. So I do people buying and selling and financing real estate all over the country. And I'm happy to be on the board. I love this city.
Yes, you do. Yeah. All right. Has everyone reviewed rather the minutes in the January 2nd meeting? A motion to approve. I'm going to approve the minutes of the January 2nd meeting.
Second.
I'm sorry, who said
I'm sorry, Michael Albetta, I do apologize.
Thank you.
I apologize for the record.
That was me.
I got it.
Yeah, you got it.
So on the Charter Review Board Public Outreach, Ashley, you're here. And one of the things that I think is important to incorporate as we move forward with this is what I'm finding is individuals don't understand city government. And they don't understand when you have city manager form of government, which is what we have, how that operates. And I think that's a good part to incorporate.
Absolutely, I agree. Yes, thank you for having me. I am Ashley Dussard. I'm the Director for Strategic Communications for the city. I know a couple of you, some of you I'm just meeting today, so thank you for having me. Yes, I think one of the things that I talked with Jania and Anthony and city staff about was I'm starting kind of brainstorming, how do I phrase what we're trying to do here without using the word charter? Because I don't think that people really know what the charter is in a general sense. But yes, I'm going to try to explain to people, part of the communication plan is to explain to people what the charter is, why they should be interested in what is in it, and how it impacts them. So that and what this group is responsible for, what your duties are, and what you're trying to achieve here is all going to be part of it. So I'll walk you through just on this handout. You have, I believe it's a 10 points. Yeah, there's 10 different points on here. The first thing starts with a dedicated web page, which is similar to other projects that we've done before. SpotlightFTL.com is it's a community engagement platform that we have. It's a dedicated page for major projects for the city. We used it in the city manager recruitment process to keep people informed about how that process was going. We put the names and contact information for the board members in there if people had questions. We recorded the meetings and posted links to those meetings in case they missed them. Their minutes, any documentation was posted there. A timeline of events, how things were progressing was posted there as well. So I think it's been a really good resource for different projects that we've used for people to stay involved. It would, that one was spotlightftl.com/CM recruitment. This one would be something like, spotlightftl.com/charter or something like that. We also, because it's an engagement platform, we have the opportunity to put a survey in there, which is something that we talked about, getting input from the public to help guide this group on whether or not they want something included on the ballot. So that all is, we have the ability to do that. It also can be updated throughout the process. If there are additional changes that you all want made throughout, we can update it and change it, and it's a dynamic page that we can use. That's gonna be the main source of information for all of the rest of this outreach. Flyers at city buildings, these are, just basic, making sure that people are aware that this is happening. And it'll have a QR code and information that links back to that original page. We'll post, news posts on the city website, all linking back to that Spotlight FTL page. Social media campaigns, same thing. Media outreach to local newspapers, TV, radio stations, encouraging them to help us out and spread the word about that. Collaborating with our civic associations, advisory boards and committees, asking them to help spread the word. Our partnership stakeholders, such as the Riverwalk, the Chamber of Commerce, Downtown Development Authority, all of our close partners who have distribution lists that they can help us spread the word to let people know, to inform themselves of what this group is doing and give us feedback on what they want to see. Our email distribution list. The mayor and commissioners have their own newsletters that go out. They often include information that we send them in their newsletters to their distribution lists. And then we also have the opportunity to include the information on the back of the water bills. So we put a lot of events and information on the backs of the water bills. We can put the QR code and the link to that website there as well. So that's the basic plan. Obviously, there will also be public outreach meetings, which we will publicize on these pages and in the same way.
So in the past, what we found, people can relate best to a charter being mirrored as to the Constitution.
Right.
And a lot, if you pursue it in that manner, that
Yes.
this is the Constitution that governs how government works.
Right. Yeah, I agree. And I can come up with some language and give it to Jania to send to you all for your review and feedback.
And what we did when Ryan Henderson was here, that's when we started the outreach and used the Council of Civic Association because they had the broadest membership
Absolutely.
and took that route. Now we do have a new problem with that, a little bit because of the two board members that serve on that board. So it's a little bit different with sunshine concerns of having discussions of the same issue. So that's why I think it's important to broaden that avenue.
I'm sorry, what do you mean?
Broaden the avenue as far as instead of relying upon the Council of Civic Association.
Oh,
I can't
absolutely.
really
Standalone
rely
town
upon
halls,
that
yeah.
board anymore.
Yes, absolutely.
Potential conflict. So
And Chair, and that's why we're gonna be working closely with TRACOM Neighbor Support, so we can be getting this information out to all of the homeowners associations individually, not only the Council of Fort Lauderdale Civic Association.
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna be using every avenue that we have available.
are we doing this with all the other boards as well?
Yes.
Because that needs to be, if you're doing one, you got to make sure to be diverse enough to do all.
Yes, we have, and with the clerk's office, we have an email list, contact information and phone numbers for every member of an advisory board and committee, and we will encourage them to share that with their
And I
committees.
think going back to the importance, as I said, in the media opening was educating them first on
Yes,
government. What is a city manager form of government?
absolutely.
Michael?
So, because the last time we spoke, Fortified, it did a magnificent job with, it's still doing a magnificent job.
Yes.
Getting it out and the QR code and everything. It's just want to mimic this. And I just saw these
Yeah, the signs,
the
yes.
signs that are there through the neighborhood. You know, local civic associations ask dedication. We would definitely
Mhm.
put you want this or,
Yes,
be like
thank
this,
you.
this is yours. That's my civic association. We would definitely dedicate 2 pages if you want, so as the project is done. And I know that if I talk to Betty Shelley, the Imperial Point News is just magnificent and everyone reads that.
Yeah, and we can provide the content, graphics, all of that stuff. I mean, I think this is us too.
Yeah. So, just getting the word out and, And then you have the boards talking about it and everything else, and this is important, it's the Constitution, just like the chair said, and it's the Constitution of the city. Do you know the Constitution of the city?
Right.
How well do you know it? You know, related to tax dollars and money and, and who I work for, they've been saying is the BCPA, everyone likes that site and everything else, so just create a site that's friendly and just move it forward. I think that would be, most instrumental with that.
Absolutely, and I can, throughout the process too, I can keep you all posted on, we can track metrics on, how many emails we've sent, how many people open the emails, how much reach our social media posts are getting and that kind of stuff too. So
Mhm.
To get that kind of report to see what the feedback is. I think that's important. And I know Anthony couldn't make it, but do any of you have the review with the advisory boards and committees, purposes, duties we have in the backup here?
It's in the back. In the backup chair.
Yeah.
Chair, are we done with that? Or do we
I-
move to the next item?
Do you have anything else
I
you
do.
want to add to it,
Yeah,
Richard?
yeah.
Because you
I
served on more
feel
part of review boards
that-
than anyone I know.
the communication needs to be very specific. I feel like general communications, like they're looking at the charter or
Oh,
is
absolutely,
people are just gonna gloss over that
right.
and not know, even though you try to do some education. I mean, I think my thought would be that we currently have a city manager form of government where the city manager is. Are you interested in a form of government that is a strong mayor? In other words, something which people can sort of relate to, or are you happy with the way city disposes of real property? I just think there's a charter review going on. I don't think we're gonna
Right.
get any, there'll be some people who just love this stuff, but most people are just gonna gloss over, they're just gonna go over their heads.
Right.
So I think in terms of the
I think
communication,
it's important to educate them on how government
yeah,
works.
and
Do
so,
that
but I
first.
think that like you would do a ballot question if you're gonna change the form of government, you state what it is first, like right now we have this. Do you have any interest, are you satisfied with what we have? You think, those kind of things. Because I was, honestly, when the commission said, oh, you need to get more public input. I think it's so many steps to get public input on whether we want a different form of government. We have to understand the form of government we have. We have to understand the other forms of government that are available. And that's the hard part about the public outreach process,
Right.
because otherwise it's just, okay, they're doing charter review, great,
Right,
so.
yes,
In the last election, when you have 62% have voted against the current city mayor, that tells you that there's an issue here in the city.
There
So
were 4 candidates, so.
that doesn't mean anything. Other cities have multiple candidates and the incumbent was over 50%. So when you have that, that's a very strong statement that the public made. This is totally inconsistent with all the other cities. So I think it's really important for people to understand how government operates.
I don't think I would use that as an example.
Example, no,
I think I would
that's- no,
just explain,
no, yeah.
what it
I have
is.
to
No,
agree with that.
using that as the example
Yeah.
of the people made a
Yes.
statement.
I don't
Bad
like that.
example.
No,
It's bad
but
example.
it's reality.
Sorry, Madam Chair.
Numbers don't lie.
the goal will be to explain what they would be voting on. That would be,
That'd
yeah,
be-
and
I
educate
think
them
that's
about the forms
perfect.
of government and then what they would potentially be voting.
Well, I think it's one step before that, which is there anything that you feel like you should be voting on? It's like, they may not be voting on anything.
Right,
Like if
do they
somebody
want to
says,
see it on
I
the
think
ballot?
the manager, the form of government's great, then, I don't have any problem with it. And there's gonna be no change, so they wouldn't be voting on anything. That's to presume that there's gonna be a vote on a particular issue, sort of missing sort of one step.
So if I may say, or just an example is educate, advocate, support, and elect. Those 4 examples will lead right into this, exactly the program that we're trying to put. That's all you need. Forget about the past, forget about elections and this and that. No, just educate, support and elect and move forward, get people excited or try to get people excited. I understand what you're saying, you know, and it just put layman's terms, simplify it.
Yes.
So the common Mary and Joe can understand, no offense.
Mary's here.
Yeah, Mary's here. So
I know I have a lot to learn.
yeah. So, but the fact is that just bring it there. And also watch, we're talking about Constitution, excitement. Bring it to the schools, the kids. I used to work for the seatbelt law in New York. And the fact is that we got kids to get excited to go home with something like this and say, Mommy, Daddy, you know about this? Or when they say, Daddy, put your seatbelt on. Mommy, put your seatbelt on. You know what I'm saying? Something to the effect of where you bring it home to the kids, where you go into local schools. Yeah, just something. No, that's just my thoughts.
Yeah, you're quiet.
Though I was gonna just add, I think education's the right thing. I bet you if you asked 100 voters in this, like if they could explain the city, whether we're a city manager, form of government, maybe 20 could tell you that, right? So like just giving them the education for the current system would be the best start here. And then we can
Right.
figure out, and even me, I'm probably limited and I just think it's a dichotomy between strong mayor and weak mayor, but there's probably, you could explain 5 different variations of that too. So that would be, I think the key thing is educating people on the basics, the 5 basic things of the city charter, so they understand.
Do they have civics classes anymore? Sorry to intervene, but do they still have civics classes in the high schools and the middle
I doubt it.
schools? That would be a perfect place to,
Well, we have an education advisory board here at the city. Why don't we coordinate with them and find out?
Like Fort Lauderdale High School or, you know.
yeah, I don't know if they still do that.
Pre-law.
Fort Lauderdale has the pre-law.
I mean, I just wonder, do they civics across the board anymore?
I don't think so.
But again, we could take that to the education advisory board since they have liaisons to the school board and the school system and they.
So so my plan is to put together some language and we'll submit it to you for review. And if you have any suggestions or changes or any feedback, then we'll take that and then we'll put that up on we'll create the website
Ashley,
from
how are
there.
you gonna do that? How are you gonna submit it to us?
Through me.
Virginia.
Are you going to, is it gonna come up in a meeting? So we're gonna talk about it, or are you gonna send it to us? I mean, what are you gonna?
Well, I will, once, I will email the board draft and the chair, you can just discuss to have it on the next agenda for discussion,
Okay,
all
yeah,
right?
'cause we can't sort of
No,
comment back to you
right.
as a
So next month, at your meeting next month, it could be up for discussion.
And
Yes, Mary.
I do like the idea of a survey. I know you're probably not gonna do that right away, but I think that's real important that, you know, people, these are all the different things that are in the charter that we, you know, are you most concerned about, or however you want to word it, but I think that's a really good idea. I know that helps us a lot with a lot of our other advisory boards, so that'd be good.
And that was why I asked too, Anthony, to incorporate the breakout, the advisory boards, because a lot of people don't even understand who can serve on boards and what the purpose is and why there are some specific on some terms and not as specific on others. So it's a full education. It's a full education for this room.
You mean including an explanation of the advisory boards and committees in this?
Right, because it may draw interest to people that may want to be more involved instead of the same people always being.
Okay.
I'm confused. So we're describing all the other advisory boards in our section of the, I think that's gonna be a lot, where it's kind of like people, I don't think I understand what you're talking about.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, I think what you were asking was to include an explanation of who can serve on a board or committee
Okay.
in this. Is that part of what you would be looking at to change, or is that just,
No, it's education.
okay?
Okay,
I think
that's fine.
that, yeah, I think that if to include that, and I'll take direction from you all, but I think to include that in this education portion might muddy the waters a little bit. And be a little bit confusing. I think we should keep it very focused because it's gonna be a lot of information.
I don't disagree with that, but I do think it's still important since you're strategic communications.
Absolutely, yes.
That's.
Maybe a
That's
different
a
place.
different
because
campaign, but yes, absolutely.
Even the board members here didn't know what the prior commission in 2018 already went through that training. So we incorporated into the minutes for tonight so that people understand.
Understood.
It goes back to people having to understand how government operates.
Right.
So you're gonna come back to us at the next meeting with some drafts of what the language of the
Yes.
communication.
Yes.
Thank you, Ashley. Are there any other questions or comments for Ashley? Ashley, you are more than welcome to join us, but thank you so much. for having you. And I look forward to working with you,
Thank you.
neighbor support and the advisory board on this project. Thank you so much.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ashley.
Thank you.
You'll see on the agenda, that I'm actually there twice, but I've limited my discussion to public lands, which is what you asked me to do the last meeting. So I'll go through the report that you sent to city commission back in May 2024, and go through the sections, and I think the goal was mostly primarily for the newer members to go through what the charter revision board recommended at that time. So I'll start with 8.01. Is there an action item in this, or are we just discussing the background?
We're just discussing background right now.
So I'll start with 8.01, which is actually the easiest one. And the proposed revision of 8.01, you have the report in the material, so you can go along.
The binder.
It's in with the agenda, is it not, Julia?
Yeah.
I think it is.
Yes, it was, it
Yeah.
was 123 pages.
Oh,
You can pronounce all of it.
Okay.
Yeah, it's.
okay. I didn't grab one of those.
I have extra if anyone wants. What page is it? Are we?
89.
We're at 89.
89?
No, 69. 69 of 123.
You're going to start from this page, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. Thank you. 89. All right. So 8.01, the easiest one, the proposed revision provides for personal property belonging to the city to be sold in accordance with an ordinance that would be enacted for that purpose, thereby eliminating charter required bidding and publication of notice for the sale of personal property, the value of which exceeds $5,000. The thought was that for personal property, it didn't need to be in the charter, frankly. Was your thought, was the members' thought?
Just with Dad said, we spent 2 years working. Richard worked and identified issues that he worked with the city attorney's office and staff. And he would bring forward the agenda items and we would go through it. We would take input. We would then send it back to the city attorney for review. Then they would bring it back to us again. So it wasn't just like one meeting, you took care of a section, it was over. We spent multiple meetings rehashing until we felt it was perfect before we moved anything forward to the commission.
Yeah, that's the beginning of it, and it's on 89. Public lands.
Exhibit 10.
Yeah, there's two sections.
There are two sections of it,
There's a
actually.
summary
Yeah, that's right.
Where it is, the actual charter.
So it's actually on page 72.
Does anyone need me to print copies? Would it be?
The explanation is on page 72, and then the exhibit.
You have one handy?
Huh?
Don't go get one now.
I
I'll show it now.
have a couple, I have an extra. Here. Here's the report. So the proposed section, or the explanation, The discussion is on page 72, and then the exhibit is on 89. Also, the thought, I guess, at the time was that anything of personal property that the city were to sell wouldn't be of that much value that it had to be, it would have to be addressed in the charter. Ready for 8.02? 8.02 is the sale of
Can I
city.
just stop you for a second? But I think that the last meeting, David, for you were here, thought we felt like there was sort of a catch up, you know, for the new board members. And so we thought that Paul should sort of go through what we've done, and then I guess after you have a chance to think about it, I agree with sort of what the direction we moved in last time. You know, we move ahead, we have another thought about it, and we can go back and revisit it. But just to sort of bring you up to date on sort of what we did without in any way saying it's written in stone or anything like that. It's just sort of a status report of what we gave our first report to the city.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate all the hard work you guys have done, so I'm happy.
Yeah, and you, like Richard, have a benefit that the rest don't have because of the multiple counties and government agencies that you all work with. I mean, I know what Kerry does down in Miami and so much stuff. There are things that we would refer to the way Miami would do a process versus process that we would use here. So it was far more interesting for us to be able to get the tri-county area through Richard's experience and Richard's former serving on the county charter review board numerous times, as well as writing charters in other governments, so that it took it out of the realm of just NIMBY kind of thought process to a more global look based on more experienced governmental relations.
And also the direction in presenting this was to start with public lands. That's why we're starting with Article 8. So section 8.02, sale of city property to public bodies. So, okay. Certainly do. So there's the discussion, and then there's the proposed revised section. The proposed revision of section 8.02 requires a paramount public purpose for the sale of property to public bodies or the allowance of a public body to make improvements on property owned by the city. And the proposal defines paramount purpose based on some case law that I found and researched, largely in connection with tax, but that's neither here nor there. But what I found in some of the case law is that paramount public purpose is an activity that is essential to the health, morals, protection, or welfare of the city. I made that as determined by the city, or we made that, you made that as determined by the city commission, because it's their call, or for use predominantly for educational, literary, scientific, or charitable purposes. Now, this section is also subject to the provisions of 8.04, which requires a resolution contained, and I'll get to 8.04 next, but it contains a finding that the sale would be in the city's best interest adopted by the affirmative vote of at least 4 commissioners, and also subject to 8.09, which has requirements for leases and other such agreements for not more than 50 years. I'll get into them more explicitly a little later.
We sprinkled in some extraordinary votes. To
Right.
sort of protect. Because those were more sensitive items, and so what we felt like, we had 4 out of 5 votes, chances were that it was probably in the best interest of the city, whereas maybe 3 to 2 could be somewhat.
I think that's excellent.
Anything else on 8.02? Next is 8.04, sale of real property to private parties.
And subject to section 8.21, which is about parks, but I'll get into that in a minute. The sale of improved or unimproved real property would be as provided by an ordinance and would require a resolution containing a finding that such sale would be in the city's best interest, adopted by the affirmative vote of at least 4 commissioners. Which is an example of what you just said. And it's about in 8.04. 8.09 is a little more involved, but anything else on 8.04?
No, and just for historical knowledge, these two portions are portions that consistently come up over each year. Despite whichever commission it was something that was always important to Romney and came up back in those days. So it seems to be a repeated concern. So we felt that dive into it and how best to handle.
So as I said, this procedure would be pursuant to an ordinance. And this proposal also deletes some of what the current system, which is pretty involved with a resolution. You'll see what's crossed out on the proposal. Bidding and the offers, you'll see you can see what's crossed out. And again, this would be subject to an ordinance that would be adopted. Ready for 8.09?
8.09. And 8.09 came forward again because what we found that there were agreements being made on for 50 years to 100 years for property where it's inconsistent with the charter. And what we discovered is because there was a loophole by using the word license, where for all the years it was always lease agreements. So we figured let's close out the loophole by incorporating. This charter really hadn't been rewritten on these sections since 1984. So it's a different mentality today.
Thank you. So in 8.09, which is, you'll see we changed the title also, leases, licenses, concessions, and use agreements for more than 1 year and not more than 50 years. So leases, license agreements, facility use agreements, or other types of agreements, we tried to make that as inclusive as we could. Or other types of agreements with private parties for the non-public use of any real property, including airspace, are limited to not more than 50 years, and that's including any renewals or extensions. Agreements having a duration exceeding 1 year would require a resolution adopted by the affirmative vote of at least 4 commissioners containing a finding based on a fair market value analysis of the property and an evaluation of the qualifications of the private party prepared by a qualified independent consultant hired by the city at the private party's expense, that such use of the property would be in the city's best interest.
We tried to do on this is anyone what was being done, evidence of it. Tried to sort of have a sliding scale of requirements so that something here has some requirements, something for up to 50 years, other requirements. So as it got longer, we made it more difficult.
And in the past, under the lease agreements, it was required to be a unanimous vote at the commission. So we lessened it down to the 4, but still a supermajority vote.
Bring this closer, it's hard to hear you guys. Voices.
Raise the voices.
Please.
Okay.
Also included in the city commission's consideration of any agreement that had a duration exceeding 10 years, including any optional renewals or extensions, would be the consideration of an accompanying business viability report prepared by a qualified independent consultant hired by the city at the private party's expense. Also in 8.09, each instrument must contain a provision that it may not be assigned except upon the affirmative vote of at least 4 commissioners. That's what I have on 809. Anything else on? On nine?
Recollect any other changes.
8.21, the next one. That is disposing,
By the way, it's a really good point, the summary that Paul's giving and the summary they gave the commission does not include every single little change.
We noticed.
So you're
Right.
right, to look at them, you know, text. It was just intended to be sort of a summary, city commission, not saying it was every single.
Yeah.
You think that would be basically 2 years worth of work, so you know that wasn't each subject, was one meeting, that was it, it was probably what, 2, 3 meetings for each piece.
likewise, what I'm sharing now is not all the changes that you made.
Approximately how many changes were proposed?
Maybe we have
There's, oh, wasn't it about 11?
11, 10 or 11.
Oh, that was
Or
in
13.
10? Was it 10?
Because we didn't. We were running out of time to get this thing on the back. We thought that we were trying to make a ballot deadline. And so we basically, there were 3 or 4 hot button items that we thought we should hit. And which were elections, sale of property, and what was the third one?
I think this was
13,
one
there were
of the
13.
more important ones with,
Anyway, there were 3. What we
The
tried to
public
do is
land.
get to the commission in time if they wanted to.
oh,
be done.
petition changes by
Yeah,
petition.
petition like charter.
And
And
election.
we tried to do is just take the work we completed, which we felt was done, give it to the commission. And give them an opportunity to tell, but sort of that,
It's kind of late, and it was kind of a lot, I was there.
yeah, there was a
Well,
lot.
I counted 13. In this report.
I think too. And again, and I'm not as experienced as probably everybody else sitting here, but when presenting all these changes, sometimes it's good to say, this is what it was, this is how we're changing it. This is what it was, this is how we're changing it. So just to kind of trot through the changes. 'Cause, I mean, I was at a lot of these meetings, I thought I was gonna die. You know, just were,
I'm doing ballot questions, even the ballot questions, I always, you're limited to
75 words.
75 words and you're limited, but I do try to say. The current charter provides for. It is proposed that the charter be amended to change it to this. And they give you yes or no, so what you're saying.
Yeah.
Try to, for people who don't even look at the stuff until they get to the ballot box. At least have some idea of what you're choosing.
And historically, what's always been historically done, there's no point in moving items forward until the commission reviews and approves, and then we know what we're actually going out to educate the public on. Because to try to educate them on everything at one time, when the commission's saying, no, I don't want that, I just want this, is also valuable time that's misspent. So we were trying to bring everything forward that we felt were the top priorities so that we could continue, because we knew there was a lot more things in the charter we still need to address.
I think my presentation would bore you even more if I went over all the things that you're recommending for deletion.
Well, I think you're very entertaining, very interesting and entertaining. I'm enjoying your.
And you have to remember the day that we did our presentation, Paul was pretty ill and couldn't be there. And
Would have made a big difference.
In and out of hospital.
he couldn't answer some of the
Hospital
questions.
Around that time.
Yeah.
I think it was right
A
before,
very
I went-
unfortunate day.
I think it was right before I went into the hospital.
Yeah.
So 821 is the next one. And this is disposing of park property. It used to say public, we're suggesting park, property, or you are suggesting, excuse me, you're suggesting park property. Previously, well, here's an example of previous. Previously, it took a unanimous vote of the entire city commission to sell, transfer, or lease for more than 1 year any land zoned farm. That was pursuant to an amendment that was done in around 2004. Let's do this one. The proposal that you're making or that the board is making is that the sale or transfer of any land zoned, and we kind of cleaned this up a little, gave it the actual land development appellation. Any land zoned parks, recreation, and open space be subject to approval in a referendum at a special election. So it takes it up one
Made it
step.
Very tough.
In addition, under the proposal, and so leases are a little different. So under the proposal, any lease, license agreement, concession agreement, facility use agreement, or other type of use agreement for more than 1 year with respect to any land zoned parks, recreation, and open space would require a unanimous vote of the entire city commission. So we separated out sale from lease because previously they were together.
Men super.
And actually, that concludes. my report. I think the next one, maybe at the next meeting, well, whatever you want, but maybe we'll have to. You tell me what.
And what we had done was stalled off on the elections until we were done with we had, wait to see what happened in Tallahassee in the state legislature.
I have a question for Michael, Mary, and Pam. How do you see the next step is the work that we had done? I want to preface it by saying, I don't have any, I'm proud of it, but I'm not sensitive to it. My ego's not involved in it. Whatever you got, whatever we do as a committee is perfectly fine. And the question is how you want to proceed, whether you want to think about it until the next meeting, whether you want how do you want to deal with the work that was previously done?
Mary?
Well, I think the work that was previously done, and I'm aware because I came to the meetings. I think it's good, and I think I said that at the last meeting. Now, having said that, there are, I wasn't, even though I came, I wasn't on this board. And
But you did
there's going to
participate.
be 4 of us that are brand new at the next meeting. I mean, we're not brand new, but new. We also, at the next meeting, will not have a chair or a vice chair.
Right.
So I don't think that we can, I don't feel it's fair to whoever else is coming
I agree.
and Dan being brand new to make a determination of how we're gonna do that tonight.
So you want to
I'd like to table that until,
table, how we move ahead. I think that's very fair. I think it's the right thing.
Second that.
One of the considerations, and I think it's really important, is we need to be tied into what will be coming up, because it's committee weeks now. What will also be impacted with what Tallahassee's going to do. And it's a consideration that goes into everything going in local government. So, that input needs to be consistently relied upon as well.
okay, I think I would be aware of that myself, so we're certainly, almost everybody is, so.
Something comes up during legislative session that affects what we're doing for all these powers. And we'll,
I'll be here from there.
we'll take it from.
Yeah, but
Well,
Well, you
you have a
have-
governmental, you have the Governmental Affairs Committee. So,
Okay, that's what I would, that's my suggestion. I don't know if you have to vote on it, but we just table it until we have the next meeting, have everybody here, get a new chair, get a new vice chair, you have a vice chair in this, right?
Yes.
And also, listen, we have to be considerate of the new person,
Mhm,
because they're gonna have to get the same,
exactly.
we need to give them the same deference of going through what they did. And I guess they could listen to the summary that Paul gave just on this item.
Yeah.
But
It was exciting. They would like to do
It
that.
was exciting, yeah.
taking out my notes.
There you go. Okay.
Just sort of leave how we're gonna proceed
Dan, what's your,
next.
what we
Okay.
find very valuable is bringing in the, like, Richard has been unbelievably valuable in the Tri-County area. And with the firm, with their role, and the bond council, and the lands and all the different real estate deals. Whatever knowledge or whatever you hear, bring that forward. That's what we rely upon.
My practice is commercial real estate though. I'm not the same practice that Richard is, with more governmental. So I mean, I'm doing deals in Denver or Boston, all over this, I do deals here. So it's a national commercial. So I'm not, I certainly get involved. I'm not in the, at the level of familiarity with the 6 levels above that with experience. And,
But you have Carrie, you've got Bob, you've got Barbara.
Who are these
That's what
people?
with all
Who are you
their
talking about?
attorneys,
Great
and
work,
this-
Trevor.
Okay,
they're all
thank you.
partners.
yes.
And
Oh, they're not on this, they're
Naming
not on
kids
this board,
off,
you
yes.
know? They're not here.
But they're all invaluable as far as input of knowing what's going on in other governments and what deals they have to do and go through in order to get governmental approvals for the projects they bring forward. And that's invaluable lessons. Anything else? We have public input. Elijah, did you want to put your name, address, and whatever on the record since you're sitting here?
Sure.
Your address for the record?
You guys have the address on here?
Well, usually that's what we always have done with that. David, is David available?
Cassandra, do you want?
David had nerve surgery. He was going to do a presentation on what the cost of the election.
Right.
And Cassandra's here, prepared to do that.
Yes, I have it. Here's some,
Cassandra, you want to go ahead and?
Wait, can I?
Yeah.
I only have the orange part.
Yeah. Cassandra.
okay, so, well, this is discussing the actual cost first for referendum election. If it was to happen in March. So there's 4 different options.
Thank you.
Are they on these papers?
No, not on
These
those
are
papers. It was actually in the backup to the email that she sent out. This is for the term limits. Yeah, this is the next item. November general election and March, if we were to do that. But this is only if there's a presidential primary, presidential preference primary. So that's one cost, I'll tell you that. The second one is if we're gonna do a March municipal election and it's in a year that there is no presidential election or city election. Third cost is an August primary. There's no city elections, if we have to add it to that, and then a standalone mail ballot. So those are our 4 options.
At the SOE, you can't have municipal elections on the August.
Correct. Correct, but then we could have the referendum questions. So that, okay. So next thing, so if there is a presidential for that year and we decide to add the questions in on March, it will be 70 cents per ballot. And then each extra page, ballot page does cost 15 cents times the number of registered voters. We did get a estimate from their office. Rounded up, it's probably going to be about $92,340, but that's with there being a presidential election in that November for that year. If there is none, oh, and then with one extra, if there's an extra page, it jumps up to 112,000. If there's a third page, it jumps up to 131,000. And then if they gave us a cost, if there is no presidential election, it's gonna be $315,980.
That's November without a president?
Yes, in March, without a presidential election in that November.
And that price was again,
$315,980. And that was the cost estimate that they provided if we were to do one this March. March 2025.
Percentage of the voting performance was what, 24% versus
Um,
81%?
So that's what we gave you here, the things that she just passed out. In 2024. Oh, well, for the whole city, we had 75.7%.
Yeah,
That actually-
81% District 1.
Yeah, and then I have the breakdown, that's what this one is, for each district based on their, how many people turned out.
Can you do the first one again? That was November.
The amount?
Yeah,
if it
well, the
was-
November, that was November with a presidential.
Yes,
Is there a November without a presidential? So that would have been November 24, but what about November 26?
No,
No.
November 22nd, there was no president, it was gubernatorial election.
Right, so
That's
I
when we had the
guess,
special
so
election.
November with a presidential would have been 24.
yeah,
How
but
about November of 26? That's without a, November without a presidential.
Correct.
Like the governor's race
It's
against.
good,
Yes.
it's good.
Yeah, so do we have that?
no,
You-
we don't have what that, but it would still be the same estimate since there is no, the same 70 cents per page and then additional 15 cents
So it's the
times.
same if it's a presidential year or not?
Yes, as long as we're not on that presidential, we're not aligned with it because we don't have a city. We don't have any
Rather
city
than March.
elections, right, we're still doing a referendum since we're adding.
So you would say that if I stand correct, so November the 8th of 2022, is that would be that would be for November of 2026, that would reflect that type of cost, correct? Because it's a non-presidential year.
November 2022, right, because that was our special election.
That's correct, okay.
Right, our special election cost.
Susan, so that's of 2026 would be like 2022.
Okay, yeah, I just, because she kept on saying with a presidential, so I didn't know.
I caught it, that's
Yeah, okay.
that's why.
So it's November with or without a president?
Correct.
But correct
In an
me if
even
I'm
number.
wrong, I mean, this is, I think we learned when we presented the first time to the city commission, this is not really up to us. When this is gonna be on the ballot, how many questions are gonna be on the ballot? I mean, it's really, right? I mean, it's informational and good to have the information, but it's not really up to us. Right? I mean, if it was up to us, it would be, have been on the ballot in November.
Well, we could have had it on the August ballot.
I know, but the point is, it's not within the purview of this committee's.
Correct.
I mean, it's just
Correct.
up to the
It's not
city
up to
commission.
SO,
We're gonna
it's up
do
to
our
the
work
city
and we're gonna
commission.
give it to them when the city commission has some particular deadline that they're trying to meet, I assume they'll let us know, but otherwise. They're
And
gonna,
we consistently always provided, 2018, we did the presentation to them in October. They voted on it and then they moved it forward December for the March ballot.
And just real quick, I know that the commission may be considering a general obligation bond for some infrastructure stuff. And that would probably be November of 26. So the question is, do you do both or separate them? So
Okay,
that would be
I
a
think that, I'm
strategic
not
thing
sure
to
how it gets
consider.
how it gets communicated, but I think it would be relevant to know whether we're on whether the city commission has some sort of timeline in mind that we're working towards, or whether they just want us to work and whenever we're done, we're done. I mean, how would we, if you all think that's a relevant question, how would we get that answer?
Well, yeah, I think we should ask them.
Right?
I think it's just as simple as we ask them,
My
like-
question is how we ask them.
Yeah, and
Yeah, but it's more than that because what we have to do is coordinate with the supervisor of elections office as to when they would be accepting or
I mean,
rejecting the
that's up to
deadline
them.
date. So we need that first before anything.
well, I don't think we
It's
have
up
to
to who,
work
Bridget?
completely backwards like
It's up
that.
to the city commission
Okay,
to figure all that out. If they say, I want this on a November ballot, let them, they're gonna figure it out.
Sure. You can do a communication to the city commission and ask.
So when we do it right, written communication will be the right thing.
Yeah, you can do a written communication today. You can vote on it and,
I mean, I think it would be good to know.
Add it to the minutes.
Whether they have some sort of timeline in their head that we're working towards, in which case, that would be very important to know. If they
Can I ask
don't,
a question about that? So, I mean, there was a lot of work that was done prior to, this year.
Yeah.
And it was all really kind of presented at once,
Yes.
or tried to be presented at once.
13 items.
Does it make any sense that we present, let's say we get through like 2 or 3 items, do a communication that we have these 3 to present, whether the vote is like this year or next year, I mean, does it make sense to kind of push this knowledge? Tell the commission, we have this, we'd like to present it to you. I mean, you want to see it or not, or do you want to get all 13 or 15 or whatever we have at once? So,
That's a great idea. Why don't we ask them? I think it's a great idea. Obviously, whatever we did was not well
Well,
received.
but because it was just too much, too late.
Correct.
That's, I think, the problem. So,
And that's not quite accurate either, because there was participation. Some chose to, some chose not to. And we were working towards the deadline, May, to get everything done to present to them. So we were given that May date to work towards.
well, whatever it was, it didn't work.
No.
So I think that doing it differently, but I just don't know. I want to hear from you guys if you think it's practical. As we get some things done, because a lot of work was done. Look at this and a couple of things at a time.
So obviously we gave, for whatever reason, I'm not gonna speculate, it just didn't go over very well.
Right.
So why don't we ask them 2 questions? One, are we working towards some sort of a deadline? Number 2, would you like us to present our entire work, at that time? Or would you like for us to do it as we do get done with the particular couple of sections?
I think
Why don't we-
that's good.
And I'll correct the
Good.
record because we were working within a deadline that was provided to us. And it was May of 2024.
I think we all
So that's
understand
what we
that,
worked
but that
out.
didn't work.
I'd
So
like
now we're
to-
looking to
I'd
do
like
it a
make a
different way.
motion If
Yeah.
I could, that we request, we send a communication to the city commission. Ask them those 2 questions. I don't need to
Can
repeat.
can you say that once again for the record? A motion, can you?
A motion move to
To-
send a communication to the city commission, asking them 2 questions. Number 1, are we working towards some sort of deadline that they have in mind as to when our work will be done? 2, would they like all of our work to be presented at one time, or would they like us to present 1 or more sections
In increments.
in increments?
Progress report.
In increments as we get through them.
Okay, that's clear. Need to
I'll
vote
second
on
it.
Okay, seconded.
On the question? We have a motion, we have a second.
You want a roll vote or show of hands? Roll vote? Okay. Mr. Albetta,
Yes.
Mr. McCauley,
Yes.
Ms. Calaquin,
Yes.
Mr. Weiss,
Yes.
and Chair Stern,
Yes.
unanimous.
That's good.
Do you know who we get this on next?
These minutes are done by.
Yeah, probably. It's okay. So it may not be in this commission meeting, depending on when we get the minutes. The next commission meeting is on the 18th, but if not, it will be on the next one after that.
Meeting in March.
The first meeting in March, so that it would be in the first meeting in March. And then we would have a definite answer for before your meeting on the 6th. Either way. Thank you.
Well, for the next meeting, when we have to full board, we should review the dates of the meetings to make sure that the first Thursday fits into the schedule of the meeting.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
So.
Okay, I will put that on the agenda.
Thank you.
You may want to look into that and make sure that you keep it coordinated with the website.
Okay, will do.
It's that it's publicly advertised on the website forever. That's the first Thursday of the month. And that was based on the city's availability when they could provide us the staff and the opportunity for these meetings.
Do you want any other articles presented? By year at the next meeting?
Tell you honestly, I really think efforts to the person that's gonna get added. I think that they would benefit during the next articles to review directly, so they don't have to go back and have more to review.
I agree.
So at the meeting though?
No, at the next meeting.
Yeah.
We'll present the other ones that you have. So that way they can hear it first, and because let's have we feel back on a page like this, which is, I just think it's just courteous.
And give them the opportunity to ask you any questions.
Yeah.
Carol, did you ask, public input? Did you add, did you?
You did.
Yeah, you did.
Okay, ask a question. Who puts the agenda together?
Myself, along with Anthony, and we get input from Richard sometimes.
Okay.
And, Paul.
Okay. All right, good.
I mean, we can change it, but
No, that's fine. I just wondered how it got
Richard
done.
has always been the point person.
Yeah,
That's
Richard's
perfect.
always been the lead for,
then we need to, there's another way. to do this.
No, I like this way.
Richard enjoys the pleasure of being retired, so that.
Some almost retired.
It's when you think you're retired that you discover that you're not. I can tell you about that.
Which I've been twice in 2 days, yes.
It's good for you.
your next meeting is scheduled, Chair, for, March sixth, 2025.
Wait a second. Is that the meeting, is that the day of the commission meeting also though? I know, it's the sixth.
There's a, March sixth?
Thursday.
March fourth is the next,
March
Sorry,
fourth.
sorry.
is a
Yeah,
commission
two-
meeting, not the next.
To adjourn?
Your turn.
Thank you.
So Dan, you missed out a lot.
What's that?
You missed out a lot.
How are you? Good, I've been talking to Brad a lot.
Yeah, but